Sony Alpha Rumor said that the Sony a7C and the a7CR will be announced on August the 29th. And now we have confirmation from multiple sources. We also have an update to the specifications that indicate that the Sony a7CR will be a mini Sony a7R5. Stick around after this short break for all the details. But first, please do me a favor. Follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, but most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It really does help get this channel noticed, and it helps keep you up to date on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. Sony now has multiple sources confirming that Sony will have an event August the 29th to announce the a7C, the a7CR, and the 16 to 35mm f2.8 GM2. So that's terrific. We have multiple sources confirming that we will have an event scheduled by Sony for August the 29th, but we don't have a time at this point. Now, once we have a time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to schedule a live stream, and that live stream will start 1 hour before the Sony event, regardless of what time of day that happens. And in that live stream, I'm going to have multiple guests on where we're going to talk about what we would put in the Sony a7C and the a7CR if we were the president of Sony Corporation. And then we'll cover the announcement live, and then we'll talk about it afterwards, seeing how close it came to our expectations and how good the a7C is over its predecessor. And the Sony a7CR, it's beginning to look like a mini, well, Sony a7R5. So we'll get to those leaked specifications shortly, but first up, let's talk about the Sony a7C. It's going to have the same sensor found in the Sony a7 IV, a $2,500 camera. And that's a 33 megapixel sensor. And the image processor, well, it's going to be a Bionz XR image processor. And no surprises here, it's going to have that AI processing unit that came out first in the Sony a7R5. It's going to be capable of shooting 10 frames per second continuous shooting, same as the a7 IV and the a7R5. And in terms of an ISO range, well, 100 to 51,200. It's going to have 5 stops of IBIS. Now, in terms of the video specifications of this camera, it's going to be able to shoot 10-bit. We don't know if it's 422. We don't know if it's internal. But at this point here in 2023, I'm willing to predict that it is going to be 10-bit 422 internal. Now, in terms of the other video specifications, it's going to be able to shoot 4K at 24, 25, 30, 50, and 60 frames per second. It's going to have S-Cinetone, but there's no mention in these leaked specs if it's going to do S-Log1, S-Log2, or S-Log3, and it's going to have breathing compensation. So that kind of wraps up all the video specifications of this camera. But in terms of the EVF, it's going to be 2.36 million dots, and it's going to have a 3-inch fully articulating LCD screen. I only wish it would be the exact same 4-axis fully articulating screen that we see on the Sony a7R5, but I'm willing to bet that that's not the case. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. But now it's time to take a look at that camera, the one I'm most interested in, and that's, well, the a7CR. So again, it's a successor to the a7C, but this one's going to seem, well, like the Nikon Z8 seems like a mini Z9, this is beginning to seem like a mini, well, a7R5. In terms of resolution, well, it's going to have 61 megapixels. It's going to have a 61 megapixel backside illuminated sensor, the same as found in the Sony a7R5. It's also going to have the exact same body as the Sony a7 II. Now, the video resolution here, are you ready for this? This is kind of a big deal. It's going to be capable of shooting 8K, same as the Sony a7R5. So what that means is 8K, 24 and 25 frames per second, no 30 frames per second. And I know that for sure because there's no way Sony's going to put in better 8K in this camera than the Sony a7R5. But if it's identical to the Sony a7R5, that will also mean a 1.2 or 1.19 times crop, which is a little bit disappointing. I would actually love to see 30 frames per second because that's what I shoot in most of the time. I like that docu-style, close to reality type run and gun shooting. And I know what you're thinking, why don't I shoot at 60 frames per second? Well, I can't in 8K, at least not yet, not with what I have. And in 4K, well, again, with what I have, I don't get that detailed full sensor readout on the Canon EOS R5. I do at 24, 25, and 30 frames per second, but not at 60. So I'm really curious to see what the price point of this camera is going to be, the A7CR and the A7C2. Are we looking at between $2,000 and $2,500? Well, I think some of that information is being saved until the launch event. So what else do we have for the Sony A7R5? Sorry, the mini Sony A7R5, the A7CR. Well, according to Sony Alpha Rumors, this camera is going to have many other capabilities similar to the Sony A7R5. Interesting, the Sony A7R5 costs just shy of $4,000. So this camera is going to cost quite a bit less. It does seem very similar to what Nikon did with the Z8 versus the Z9. Now, I do have one other bit of information. I kind of lied to you a little bit. I wish I could go back and change it. Maybe I'll put something up here saying I got this wrong, but both cameras are confirmed to have a single card slot. So if you're looking at the Sony A7R5, it has dual card slots. You can record video and stills to both cards at the same time. So that gives you a sense of backup, a redundancy. So if you have any issues, you don't have a total loss unless, of course, somebody steals your camera. And of course, at that launch event, we're also getting the Sony 16 to 35mm f2.8 GM2. So it looks to be a pretty interesting event. I'm still on vacation, so I'm looking forward to hosting this event live. I don't know who my guests are going to be at this point. I don't know the time yet, but rest assured, as soon as we have that time, I'm going to go ahead and schedule an event and I'm going to let you know. And you might notice that for much of this video, I've had smart pre-order links available down below for both B&H and Adorama. And the reason for that being is because we have so many different variations of the Sony A7C successor, not only just one, but two different bodies, a lens, and we're also probably going to get various different kit packages as well. So what lenses will they be paired with? And then of course, B&H and Adorama will likely pair it up or add maybe a camera bag, storage options, filters, or whatever else to create multiple different SKUs. So to save you on the day of announcement from trying to hunt down all the different SKUs, all the different options for purchasing, whether you just want the body alone or a kit package, using these smart links, if you want to go ahead and copy that link, once the embargo is lifted and they're available for pre-order, those links will show you every single option available at B&H and Adorama. So it saves you a bit of time, so that way you can get further into the queue, so you can get your camera just a little bit quicker than anybody else. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest news and rumors, specifically regarding the Sony A7C II, the Sony A7CR, the lens, and of course the time of event, well, please go ahead and subscribe, but also make sure you choose all notifications. And for all those minor events, all those news and rumors that aren't quite big enough to have their own separate video, where I like to announce pricing information, well, then go ahead and follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. So yeah, we are expecting some really interesting we are expecting a really interesting event to come up, but there are actually multiple events coming up. We're about to enter a very, very busy time. The Nikon ZF is also rumored to be announced over the next couple of weeks. And when I say the next couple of weeks, it could literally be over the next 2 weeks or going into September, at least according to Nikon Rumors. You see, Nikon Rumors and Sony Alpha Rumors have been arguing over this camera, and both of them being successful in what they're predicting. Now, Sony Alpha Rumors said that it would be days or weeks, whereas Nikon Rumors is saying, well, not so fast. It's going to be sometime August or September. So we're going to have multiple announcements. I'm going to do my best to book time ahead to have announcements for both of these camera systems. And who knows what else might come out this fall. Cameras from Canon, Panasonic, more cameras from Nikon, more cameras from Sony. It's looking to be a very, very interesting fall. And things are just starting to wake up here in August. So stay tuned, subscribe, follow me on Twitter for all the latest news and rumors. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.